Hey guys, welcome back to Alpine Garage Sports. I am so sorry about that. For whatever reason, my publishing software that I have is, and this is an old thing that happened to me before, but it cuts all my streaming off. It cuts off my microphone and everything, and I'm really sorry about that. I don't know if we are back on live or not. So let me take a look and see what we have going on here. But in any case, we're just going to go through this anyway. So the reason why I brought this up is because, Dallas, Deion to Dallas is intriguing for me because I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and grew up in the Southwest, and Denver and Dallas are my two big teams. So as far as pros are concerned, and I am kind of a dyed. My dad was a dyed in the wool Dallas Cowboys fan. Roger Staubach, got a Roger Staubach signed jersey when I was a kid, and it was a big day for me at that point. I can remember. So, having Dion go to Dallas back in the '90s and help us win a Super Bowl in '95 was a big moment for me and my family because we had already seen two previous Super Bowls from the Cowboys in the '90s, but this one with Barry Switzer as the coach and Deion Sanders in his role, helping us get to that win was just really special for us. And it's really kind of held a spot for me. So let's say February of 23, I was doing a video talking about University of Colorado and Coach Prime. And it was, I would say, interesting to say the least, how many comments I got on that video about, Deion to Dallas. He had just signed a contract with the University of Colorado. We weren't talking at that point about him leaving. I wasn't talking about him leaving either. I just thought, if he did, when would that happen? And I was thinking year 3, and it would be to the Dallas Cowboys, because if he does what he says he's going to do at the University of Colorado, his stock is going to be so super high that every single NCAA and NFL team is going to want him on their roster. And we even talked about in some other videos that he could become a partial owner at some point of an NFL team. And, the sky is the limit for this guy. I mean, I'm not going to count him out of anything. Like, if an NFL team wants to come and get him, I'm not going to be the guy that's sitting there going, no, don't hate on Colorado. Deion's never leaving, and Coach Prime is going to be here forever. I want him to stay at University of Colorado forever. But the opportunities for a guy of his magnitude are so endless that I don't see him staying in one spot for like a huge amount of time, right? Because the opportunities are just every year they're doubling or tripling or quadrupling. I mean, there's really an infinite multiplication when it comes to Prime. Ever since he was coaching his sons in Little League, all the way till now. I mean, look at what's happened. I coach Little League too. I am not Deion Sanders, right? So everybody has an opportunity in life, and some of us, just take off like a rocket, and that's what this guy did. And so his opportunities are literally boundless at this point. And so I'm not going to deny. We are not going to deny him the opportunity on this show today. We're just going to simply talk about what does the opportunity look like for him. He's obviously got a whole lot to think about, right? He's got probably multiple offers on the table, maybe even some that we don't even know, which is kind of crazy to think that we might have some that we don't even know about, right? The Dallas thing captures the headlines, and everybody wants to talk about it, including me. So let's talk about it. Pros and cons. I mean, I've been thinking about this literally for 2 years since we talked about it in February of 23 on what would it take for him to go to the Dallas Cowboys? What would it take for him to make a leap to the NFL? What would it take for him to make a leap to another college team, which I never thought would happen? Like that's something that I could never see him moving to another NCAA college football team. I just don't see that happening. Now, moving to the NFL, I can see that happening, right? At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think is going to happen. This is just Alpine. I don't know Coach Prime. I don't know anything about him from the standpoint of what his propensity to want to take an NFL job is. But looking at the opportunities based on his trajectory, I'm going to give you my opinion, and that's kind of where we're going to go with it. So, obviously, it's widely known that McCarthy got whacked. 5 years in, being a big Dallas Cowboy fan, guys, I'm going to be evident with you. I was not a Mike McCarthy fan. I do appreciate the 12-5 seasons. I really enjoyed those 12-5 seasons, and I'm not a Dallas Cowboy fan that's like, I got to win a Super Bowl. And if we don't win a Super Bowl or a playoff game, then, you might as well just toss it out, because I'm also a Broncos fan. And, both of those teams for a long time, obviously the Broncos won a Super Bowl not too long ago. But lately they've been destitute with a coaching carousel going on. So I'm not a fan. Similar to the University of Colorado, I'm just as big a Colorado fan today as I was 3 years ago when we were really destitute on the team, because I just love the culture of the team. I love the football. I love the players. I love to watch the football. Dallas, to me, under Mike McCarthy, even though we were good, it just it just, for whatever reason, it almost felt static to me. And, I loved the Cowboys under Garrett. Go figure, right? I mean, go figure. So at this point, um, to me, it comes down to the experience of the game, right? Whether you're watching it or whether you're there. I've probably been to, I don't know, 4 or 5 dozen Dallas Cowboy games in my lifetime, probably more than that. And I just love going to the stadium, and I love the old Cowboy Stadium, and just the feel of, the culture there and the history there, and things like that, and growing up underneath that umbrella. So at this point, we're talking about Mike McCarthy being out. I didn't really cry. I didn't really care. If they had given him an extension and he had stayed on for another year, I would have been fine with it. It wouldn't have been super sexy to me, because at this point I'm focusing on the University of Colorado. That's where my head is, right? But the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys is I think it needs to be a splash. I think at this point, for me personally, now that Coach Prime has come into the University of Colorado and really just kind of just made it explode, I kind of want to see that with all of my teams. I mean, we got Peyton coming into Denver, made a splash this year. We did extremely well, right? We got a sexy first rounder quarterback, and it's just, things feel good. We didn't win the game, kind of got blown out of that playoff game, but at the same time, it felt good. It felt like we were moving in the right direction. It just felt fun, right? This year in Dallas, I don't know, for whatever reason, it didn't feel fun. To think that Coach Prime would go there, as much as I do not want him to leave the University of Colorado, if he stayed here for the rest of his life, be totally happy. I can think of about 10 other coaches that I would want for the Dallas Cowboys if Coach Prime didn't take that job, right? But let's go down the list of the pros and cons of going to Dallas and the pros and cons of staying at Colorado. These are just my pros and cons, some things that I know about Dallas and University of Colorado, and some things that might be weighing on his mind. There's probably many other things, obviously, that we don't know. And if you can think of any pros or cons of going to Dallas, throw those in the chat, and we'll go over those here in a minute. But my first pro for going to Dallas, and it's actually down on my list a little bit, but I'm going to pull it to the top, this is Prime's home. And as much as we want to all believe, and I want to believe, that he makes Boulder his home, and Boulder is his home. I appreciate that people love Colorado, and that people love Boulder, and that people love the mountains, and that people love the cold weather and the snow, and the nice springs that we have, and the cool summers, and things like that. But there are people that just don't. They're from somewhere else. They like whatever they do wherever they're at. I have friends that are in the southern part of the states. I'm not even going to say Oklahoma is southern, but Oklahoma on down south, that would never move to Colorado. They love visiting. They love to come and visit, and they love to experience it for a while, but they always like to go back home, especially my angler friends. So I'm big in the fishing community. I'm very tight in the fishing community. Like, I'm very, very tight in the fishing community. And that fishing community in Oklahoma South is like, once you get that, you're never going to leave it. My in-laws live on a lake in Oklahoma. They will never leave that lake in Oklahoma. As beautiful as Colorado is, as much as they want to visit, they will never move to Colorado because that is their home. That is where they're from. That's what they like to do. They love the weather, the people, everything is just great there. And I kind of feel that way about Coach Prime. And that's just what I'm feeling because anytime he's not coaching, you can see him in Dallas at his plush estate, which oh my gosh, I would love to go and visit that place. I'd love to fish on his ponds. I'm going to throw that out there right now, Coach Prime. Got a couple tricks. Travis and I fished at one point early when he was here in Colorado. And I'd love to go and jump on one of your prime lakes and see if I can catch one of those really monster hog like Florida strain bass that you have in that lake. I think the Florida strain. I hope the Florida strain. Anyway, they have to be Florida strain because this is Coach Prime. I don't think it had anything but Florida strain bass in that lake. So, but my point is this: is you live that life and you love that life, and you can't duplicate that in Colorado. Like bass fishing here, it's just, I'm not going to say it doesn't exist because it exists. It definitely exists, but not to near the same level. This is a trout fishing community, cold water fish, that kind of thing. You can't access the lakes as easily in the winter because a lot of them are frozen. And that is his passion, right? Not only that, but he is royalty in Dallas. He is like the king of Dallas. And no matter where he goes, he owns everything there. Not from a monetary standpoint, but just from him being him and him being royalty in Dallas. He can do or say and do anything he wants there and be completely in charge, essentially, right? So I think that plays a huge factor. Not that he can't do that in Colorado, because literally anywhere he goes, he's going to be a king. But he already is there. His kids are there, or his kids grew up there, and there's a whole lot more from the personal side of it that I really see him fitting in there. Right now, you look at the opportunity from a monetary standpoint. So now we're not just talking about contract, because obviously the contract would be bigger. Whatever the University of Colorado can put forward in this is going to be good for the University of Colorado. Dallas could easily double it, right? And I've got a figure that I'm going to throw out here in a minute of what I think. If something were to happen and the interview were to go well and they were to offer something, there's a niche in there that I think that no one is talking about right now that I think could be relevant if it were to happen, right? But, Colorado couldn't offer that money. I don't think Coach Prime is about that kind of money. Like his contract that he's working with right now, I think it's more than reasonable for what, for college football. I think he's owed more now that he's done more for the University of Colorado, and we'll give him more, obviously. But I don't know that, the 5, 7, 8, $10 million difference is going to be like, whoa, I got to go. That's just a whole lot of money, because his personal marketing side of it is probably trumps that, right? Just as his contract in his normal job is probably a very small factor compared to the rest of his portfolio of value that's coming into him and into his family right now. And that's where I was going with it. Is it's not that Dallas could offer him more money, but the Dallas Cowboys are they're $10.1 billion value right now, the most valued sports team in the world, and $10.1 billion value. So I thought, I'm a business guy, and I love looking at numbers to try to figure out, what the solubility of a business is. And when you look at their operating capital, kind of what the propensity to be able to expand is and things like that. Their marketing capital was $564 million last year. It sounds like a lot of money, right? That is a lot of money. And to kind of give you a little bit of kind of a view into this, the number 2 team in the NFL compared to them was less than half, which was the LA Rams, right? They're like $230 million operating cap. So when you're talking about, Prime's ability, and I'm not talking about just paying him. I'm talking about the money that he has available to him as a coach / GM. I'm just going to throw it out there. All right. I let it out. All right, guys. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking going to Dallas, Jerry is 82 now. Jerry's getting old. Jerry has freaked this team into submission. And the city of Dallas has been asking him for decades to release some power to some other individuals that could help make decisions in the organization and let him be the figurehead and the owner and still the mentor and all the things that he wants to do, but give someone control of the business from a GM side, similar to the way that Bill Belichick had it in New England, to be able to make personnel decisions. And also, when you're talking about that, you're also talking about the marketing side of the business. I mean, you're talking about a genius in Coach Prime. He is a great college football coach. He is as good or better, or maybe even double or triple or quadruple or 10 times the marketing value in a single human than even his coaching presence. So great coach. Like, I can't think of a better marketing person in the world right now than Coach Prime. He can literally take anything and turn it into diamonds. You take a highest valued sports team, you put Coach Prime into the GM/coach role. Okay. You pay him 18 to $20 million, which would be towards to the top of the value. Right now, Andy Reid is the high paid at 20 million, or it's like 18 million plus bonuses, which brings him to about 20 million. And then you say, do what you need to do to this team. I'm going to be here as as the owner, right? And I know we're all laughing right now because thinking that Jerry Jones would ever do this seems like we're making up a make believe world that will never happen. But again, he's 82 years old, and if there was going to be anybody he would allow to take the reins and drive his vision, I can see Coach Prime being one of those guys because he knows that he can build a business, obviously, right? He can develop people. He can develop a business. He knows the vision. He's been there. He actually created the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, right? Helped create it, amongst other people. But I mean, he was the exclamation point on the process. And I can see him really just taking off in this process and taking the Dallas Cowboys well past $10.1 billion in value and making this maybe one of the most valuable sports franchises for history, right? I can see this literally what he has done at the small little tiny University of Colorado. Imagine taking that and planning that into the largest sports valued organization and what you can do there. The exponential growth is going to be impressive if that happens, right? And that's not just the coaching part of it. I'm not even talking about coaching really, right? I think he could put together, he could literally cut and paste his staff right now into the Dallas Cowboys, and we would probably have as good a team as we had last year. I'm just going to say it right now, guys. I mean, he's literally got NFL talent all the way through the whole stinking organization is all NFL talent. And we do know one thing about Coach Prime is that he loves to elevate his people. He loves to elevate his people. He loves to give people opportunities. And could you imagine the opportunities that he could give people by jumping to an NFL team like the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, he's literally changing people's lives now. Imagine what he can do at that level, right? That amount of, what word should I use there? That amount of, ownership in the development of people would just be off the charts. And, pipe dream. I say pipe dream. I don't want him to leave Colorado. I love the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to get into that at the very end of what I think is going to happen. But if you're talking about being an NFL owner, this is kind of what I'm thinking an NFL owner would want, right? Because they want to win football games. They want to win football games. That is the most important thing to an NFL franchise is that you got to win games or you're going to lose your people, right? Well, Dallas has been supporting their team with sold games. I want to say their streak is at like 194 now, 195 games, something like that since 2002. I mean, they will sell out regardless of what happens. But you put Coach Prime in the seat there and it just changes everything. It did at University of Colorado. It did at Jackson State, and it will in anywhere else he goes, right? So anyway, $10.1 billion valuation is something that, I mean, that's a lot of money to be able to play with. The next thing would be, let's see, which way do I want to go here? He's got a great relationship with Jerry. And, a lot of people paint Jerry as a little bit of a difficult owner to work with because he wants to have so much control of the organization. And I can see how that would not fit with what Coach Prime wants to do, because Coach Prime has total control of this program right now at the University of Colorado. And I'm not going to say that Coach Prime wants that control, like he's a control freak. That's not what I mean by that. But in order to do it his way, in order to do it the Prime way, which has been proven to be successful, he's going to need some latitude to be able to make some pretty off the wall hires and things like that in order to further the program. And to have anybody rub up against you on that, I just don't know that that would be a great thing. But again, I think with Jerry's age, um, I mean, I'm not going to say 82 is old, but oh man, running a $10.1 billion business. I'm not saying he's doing it by himself. He has his family with him, and he's got lots of advisors, and he has a lot of CEOs and so forth that run parts of his businesses. But I think Coach Prime would be the most valuable there. Um, and that's what I'm going to say. I have about 4 or 5 other pros to go into Dallas, because like I'm thinking Dallas is like, I was watching. I don't remember who it was that said. I think it was Strikeman said that that Dallas is not the premier destination that everyone thinks it is. And I love Troy Aikman. He's my quarterback in the pros anyway. He's my quarterback. But I see this differently from my vantage point of being in Dallas so much, and understanding the community of Dallas and Dallas fans definitely, is that um, everybody follows Dallas regardless of whether they're a fan or not. Like it's exactly the same way Coach Prime is right now. It's like you love or you hate Coach Prime, right? There's so many people that love him. It doesn't matter where he goes. If he went to coach baseball, okay, everyone that loves Coach Prime would be a baseball fan of that team, and probably a baseball fan in general, right? That never knew baseball, never watched baseball, but he is such an intriguing guy that those people will follow him, and he will grow that organization just from that alone, right? Throw in great coaching and these kinds of things, and it could make it grow. But just him by himself, he can make it grow. So I think that Dallas is a premier destination, and I think you're going to see a lot of people clamoring for this position. It's just, for whatever reason, we just the team never really has made a big splash. I mean, Mike McCarthy was kind of the big splash when he came on. I mean, that was a big splash, but it wasn't like Coach Prime, right? Now let's go into the cons. Let's go into the cons of Dallas, and there are a lot of cons, right? Right now, the draft status is pretty trash for Dallas. When you're talking about doing what he would want to do, which is, he wants to coach his sons in the NFL, or I should say, the only thing that I've heard of him saying that he would coach in the NFL is if he was able to coach his sons. That is unlikely to happen in Dallas, just because right now they're basically at their salary cap, and they have a quarterback on the roster right now that has a huge contract and a huge buyout and huge market cap issues. It's just like it seems to be a really tough situation for somebody to go in there and want to make a lot of changes, especially high level changes. Like pretty much you've written your future there for 3 or 4 years, it seems like, to get through Dak's contract. And I think Dak is a good quarterback. So I think Dak could take us to winning playoff games. Like I don't have any problem with Dak Prescott. I really don't. I really like Dak Prescott. I think there's other factors that are involved here that keep us from reaching playoff wins, Super Bowls, and things like that. I'm not going to hang it on the back of Dak. But the salary cap, in order to make the changes you need to make, underneath his salary, is going to be really hard. So I'm just going to put that there. That to me seems like an immense headache right off the bat, especially to a guy who's never run an NFL team. The second is Jerry Jones is a control freak. Everybody knows that. He would have to relinquish control. And that's why I say that I think the only way that this would work is if he gave Coach Prime the opportunity to really have some GM responsibilities in this and be able to be that operating figurehead in the organization, to be able to make those executive changes that they need to make without a lot of pushback, without a lot of other feedback. Let him do his thing, right? I don't think that that would be very hard for Jerry Jones to do. Plus, there's a lineage there of people behind him that would be taking spots, and I don't even know what that looks like. But that would be to me a con. Um, Failure there, if he were to go to Dallas and it didn't work out, right, in his hometown where he won Super Bowls, um, that is a scary thing. Going home and then it doesn't work out the way you want it to, right? Where we're in Colorado, you already own your destiny here. I mean, we're on the rise. He has total control of this program, and he can go to Dallas whenever he wants to, and he's still the king of Dallas. What happens if he goes and I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, craps the bed in Dallas? That's a hard thing to overcome, in my opinion, right? So that to me would seem to be a negative, at least right now. And then the last thing is, and this is actually a pro, is there is time in this. He doesn't have to make a move right now. Okay. Dallas is going to want him in 2 years. Dallas is going to want him in 5 years. Dallas is going to want him in 7 years, right? Which is going to lead to my prediction later, right? So it's not anything that has to happen literally right now, but any conversation that he has with pros is going to benefit him from the standpoint of it. It just raises his value. It raises his value at University of Colorado. It raises his value with marketing himself and his family and his current players, right? I mean, he every single time a vacancy comes open in the NFL, he's going to be considered for it, especially if we keep going this trajectory, right? All of his players benefit from that. Everybody benefits from that. Nobody is a loser in this situation, even if he doesn't take a job. So that is a huge pro. Now, pros to being in Colorado, Boulder, we love Coach Prime. We love him here. He is absolutely adored in this community. And quite honestly, if he stayed for another 10 years and we went up and down, up and down, up and down, we would have so much fun. It wouldn't matter, right? We'd love him. He has total control of the program. Rick George has given him control of the program. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's made himself a coaching staff and really an incoming recruiting class that just looks amazing. So it looks to me like he is going to continue to rise, and he all that hard work is going to be able to be paid off this year, last year, and this year, and then in the coming years. I mean, why would you walk out on that, right? The hit show on Prime centered around Colorado. Colorado's a backdrop, guys. If you know, I don't want to look. I mean, I need to look at that and see if the Prime Jackson State and the Prime Colorado, if there's different viewership there. I imagine the one in Boulder probably has higher viewership just because it's an ever developing saga. But the backdrop of Colorado and the snow and the players doing things out in Colorado and catching fish, fly fishing, and I mean it's just like the whole thing is just surreal, especially to folks that don't live in Colorado, I'm sure, and haven't experienced those things. It's a magical place, and I think that's a great backdrop for another, I don't know, 3 to 5 years of developing a show out here. So I think that is definitely a pro at the University of Colorado. Upcoming contract could be huge. That's a pro, right? I don't really want to go into that too much because I don't know much about it. Um, I'm going to stop there with that because there's so many pros. Um, it's just there's so many pros for staying in Colorado. So let's look at the cons of Colorado, and I only have a few of them. Right? Let's talk about cons. Lower pay, right? Lower pay than the NFL. In most cases, it'd be lower pay. I don't think that's a considering factor for him. It's cold here, guys. I know for a long time we were trying to kind of play off the cold, but it can get cold. Like right now, I've got my heater on in the garage, and I think I'm struggling to hit 40 degrees in the garage. It can get cold in the dead of winter, just like any other northern state, really. So, and being from Florida and living in Dallas a lot, wanting to go and fish even in the winter, because fishing in the winter in the southern states is awesome. I love doing it. I've caught some of my biggest bass in February in Oklahoma, and it's just a great time when the pre-spawn bass just awesome. So cold, I would say would definitely be a con. Having to deal with the NCAA developments going on right now. I mean, it seems like every year there's another 10 hurdles put in place of these programs, which makes it harder and harder to navigate. It's also harder and harder to continue to develop teams because you have the potential to lose players sometimes in the middle of season. You can have a great season and really be on top of the world, and all of your best players get poached. So, for any college coach, not just Coach Prime, but every college coach in there, there's probably a good portion of them that can manage this. There's probably a portion of them that are sick of it. And there's probably a portion of them that are, they revel in it. This is what they do. Like, they love the chaos, right? I don't know where to put Coach Prime in those three categories, but I can definitely say that just from being a fan of college football, it's insane to watch what's going on. I cannot imagine having to manage that, right? So I'm going to say that's a con where the NFL is fairly structured. I mean, you got contracts, you sign a guy, you got him for 4 years. There's buyouts, there's franchise tags, there's trade, there's no trade tags. I mean, there's lots of ways that you can manipulate the business, and where you're going to be in 3 years. Okay. Assuming that you're going in the right direction. So it's a little bit more structured from that standpoint. I don't know if that makes it more comfortable or not more comfortable, but I'm going to put that as a con for staying in the NCAA side of it, staying in college football. And I would say the last one is that his sons aren't here anymore. I mean, this is the first year that he's not going to be coaching his sons. And doing it at the University of Colorado, man, you can't think of a better place, right? But going home and, being without your sons, but being at home and having the opportunity in the NFL, that could be a con, guys. I don't know. Con to the University of Colorado. But that's all I've got. I mean, other than that, there's really no reason that I can see that he would want to leave, from the standpoint that he keeps saying he loves Colorado. He loves the university, loves his relationship with the Regency at CU and with Rick George. And, his coaches seem extremely happy, and his players are definitely very happy. So, and of course, we are all very happy. The fans are very happy. He's filling stadiums. People are clamoring over tickets. It's a great situation for him here. So this is my prediction. My prediction is this: he is going to the Dallas Cowboys, guys. He is 100% going to Dallas Cowboys, but he's probably not going to do it for about another 5 years. I think that he passes up on this opportunity. He raises his stock just in the interviewing process with these teams. He honors his commitment to the University of Colorado. He sees out what he started. He helps develop the coaches and give them opportunities to move up as well. And he sees his sons into their first contracts, okay, which is where I'm going, right? Into their first contracts, and kind of watches it as those contracts start to wane a little bit and they get to the end of the contract phase. And then he swoops into the Dallas Cowboys when we have fixed the market, or when we fix the cap issues that we have, and he can go in there and he can collect all of the players that he wants to bring into his team and make the perfect Dallas Cowboys team 5 years from now. And that's what I'm going to say. Now, it could just be that I'm euphoric from the fact that I'm back making content again, and I love doing this, guys. I've missed you guys a lot. One of the main reasons why I haven't been on is I lost my mom in December, and she was my football buddy. We would text back and forth all day long on multiple games. She was a big University of Oklahoma and University of Colorado fan, and she'd keep me updated if I was at work on the games that are going on. And she was my buddy, and she passed away unexpectedly. And so, that's been really hard on me, but I want, and she would watch, these videos. So it was always fun, because she'd comment after every one of them to me. And I really appreciated that. But I'm back now, and I'm going to keep rolling on this, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Let's look at some of the comments that we have here. And I know that there's a lot of you in here, and I've been missing a lot of the comments, but I'll get to a few of them here. Wallow says, Jerry understands he needs to win now. Jerry also understands the NFL is $1 billion business, and the Cowboys are one of, if not the most lucrative franchises. That is absolutely correct, Wallow. And Jerry wants to win now, and he's been winning. I mean, 12-5. I mean, those aren't slouch years, right? But if you're not winning playoff games and Super Bowls as the Dallas Cowboys, every, I don't know, 10 years, I think it just becomes stale, and us Dallas fans start to get a little, crazy about it. And I say every 10 years, and we haven't won a Super Bowl in like 30 years almost. So it's really hard to even have that conversation when you're talking about that. Mediocre Dallas teams, as long as we're having fun, I'm okay with, guys. I mean, I love winning. Don't get me wrong. I would love for Dallas to be a superpower again. But more than anything else, kind of like Colorado not last season, season before last. We were not the world beaters that we thought we were going to be that season. But dang it, I had the most fun I ever had in a season in my life. Ever had in my life. I had the most fun I've ever had. And that's what I will remember. The record is going to come and go, but the memories of the tailgates and all of the crazy stuff that was going on at these games before the games, ESPN College Game Day and Fox, and just all the extra people that were at these games, which made it a ton more fun. That's what I'm going to remember from these. So when we're talking about Dallas, it's the same thing. It's like any sports team that I watch. I just want to see good play. I want to see smart play, right? And I want to have fun. And that's kind of what I'm in for. And this would make it extremely fun. Hey, Peter's in the house. How you doing, Peter? Brian says, oh, thank you. I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. Freddie says, I agree with Chris. He'll eventually make that move to the Cowboys, but not until he brings CU to a national championship. That is what I'm talking about, Freddie. Let's finish the business here, and then he's going to move on and elevate himself and elevate all of his people too, all of his coaches and his players and his family. He's going to elevate them. That's what he is designed to do. He elevates people. He loves to do that in many ways, spiritually, economically, in jobs. Basically, if you want to be something or do something and you can connect with Coach Prime, he can show you ways to make that happen. And for him to go and elevate himself and help, pull others along with him, and give them that experience, I think is something that he will do eventually. I really think that's what he'll do. And I don't think it's going to be because of the money. Honestly, I think it's going to be to reconnect with his sons, and also, just like I said, to elevate people and continue to build his brand. Dollar Bill says, Dollar Bills, where are you? Where are you? NFL will always be there, have unfinished business at CU, win Big 12 championship, playoff bid, and a natty, to add to his coaching resume. I agree. I 100% agree. While Dak's current contract falls off the books. That's right. We want Dak's contract to like sunset. And then when he goes in, that will mean that Shadur's contract is probably sunsetting at that point with whatever team he goes to. And then we can pick him up for Dallas, and he'll have 3 to 5 years NFL experience, tons of cap left to really rebuild a team, and Coach Prime can go in there and do what he wants to do. And I think that's where we're going to be. Dallas could trade Dax 1 or 2. They could, but we still own cap on that. So it's a bad situation all the way around from that standpoint. I'm not saying that keeping Dak is bad. I'm not saying that trading Dak is bad. I'm just saying that where we're at right now, we spent a lot of money, and we're like maxed out at this point. And anything we do, we have to pay for. Like, nothing's free. So Wallow says, if Dallas trades up during the draft, Houston, we have a problem. I believe, Freddie D says, I believe the conversation between Jerry and Coach Prime amounted to what it would take for Prime to coach the Cowboys. Start being worried if Jerry starts to place the pieces in place. If anybody can do this, if anybody can pull this off, consider Rick George got Prime to come to Dallas. I think that Jerry Jones needs to be looking at Rick George too. Like, elevate Rick George. I don't know that Rick George would ever leave the University of Colorado, but if that guy can land Coach Prime in one of the worst college football teams in the country at the time, and in a place far away from where he's from, then Jerry needs to pick up the phone and call him and figure out what it's going to take to get him there too. Because if he goes, Prime may go, hey, maybe Rick goes as the GM and coach goes and Coach Prime goes to coach. I mean, heck, what the heck, man? How would that work? Oh man, I think I just blew my own mind. I just blew my own mind there, guys. Jerry is never going to lose control, Dan O says. That is probably right. But I mean, he's going to lose control at some point, right? He's going to lose control at some point. You can only run it for so long before other people have to start taking over. Peter says, Wallow, it's like the silly reason in college NFL sports, all speculation and hype. And Peter would know, guys. Peter would know. I don't think it happens, but it would be fun to watch. But it won't. Buffs. I get it. And then Peter again, Prime would have to have some sort of ownership of the Cowboys, which, I mean, don't rule that out. I mean, if you had to give a slice of a $10.1 billion business to Coach Prime, that's a really good, I was going to bring that up. I was actually going to bring up stock on here too, Peter, but I'm glad you brought that up. If you were to give Coach a slice of that 10.1 billion, just a slice, like take the corner off, right, and give it to Prime. That $10.1 billion valuation right now, Coach Prime takes his little corner there, right? And Coach Prime comes onto the team. That piece just gained 50% of value on day one, right? So let's say that piece is, I don't know, $50 million, which is just that's a tip at a bar for Jerry Jones at this point. That $50 million chunk goes to $100 million on day one. Coach Prime is in Dallas for the offseason rebuilding the program. That $100 million goes to $130, $140 million, right? We start coaching the team. People start coming in, paying for tickets, banging down Dallas's door to come to all of these games at Jerry World. And all of a sudden that valuation goes up. I mean, in 5 years, that valuation could be in the $500 million range, guys, which again is chump change compared to the Dallas Cowboys at that time would probably be close to $15 billion franchise. Now, I didn't do any whiteboard math on this, but it's pretty easy to see the Dallas Cowboys were worth $400 million in the 90s. Now they're worth $10.1 billion. Give it time, guys. Give it time. Give it Prime. Give it Prime. Give it time. And it's going to be $15 billion in 5 years. Just insane, guys. Insane. I'm going to jump off here, guys, but I appreciate it very much. Brian C. says, Alpine. I'm back, guys. I will see you in the next video. We're probably going to be talking about some old school Buff stuff because I'm obviously very heartbroken about Coach Mack, and I want to talk about it. So we're going to talk about that in a future video. I'll see you in the next video.